Hey everybody. Today I'm going to go over some things I've noticed about AMD CPU coolers over time. These are the retail box coolers. Like you buy a retail AMD processor, you'll be getting one of these. These two here are considered the standard class coolers that come with the lower wattage CPUs, typically 45 to 95 watts. And these back here are the higher end models that come with the higher wattage CPUs. Typically the in the older days the Athlon 64FX chips, and nowadays the Black Edition CPUs. Things I want to go over is over time the AMD coolers have tended to shrink a bit. This is a standard class cooler that came with a an AMD Athlon 64-3200 plus Venice CPU, 2 gig CPU, put out maybe I'd say 65-70 watts of heat. Notice the bottom's shiny except for the thermal compound has been. It's not really clean, but you can see how the quality of the lap job that was done on this thing. Ain't the best, but it's pretty good for a box cooler. Here's a typical cooler that comes with an AMD CPU nowadays in the standard class. You'll find these with CPUs like the Phenom 2 Quad 905E, the Cool Running CPU. You'll find this one with the probably the a lot of the Athlon 2s, and probably the Semprons of this generation. They probably come with these. The thing is, you notice from right to left, over time the coolers have got smaller. I'll go ahead and hold up these two coolers next to one another. However, the one on the left has a really good design, but it can't cool that much. I've already put it to the test on a socket 939 Venice CPU. It ran good. Had stock clocks, but when you started overclocking a bit and had to raise the V-core, that's when things got hot. So this thing here cannot do much. Yet they include it with the they also include this with the Phenom 2 925, which is a 95 watt TDP processor. Puts out a bit more heat than the Phenom 2 905E, which is rated at 65 watts. You can see here, we go from this to this. I'll go ahead and plug up these coolers one at a time. These two let you listen to them, which I got a computer over here running, but I'm sure you'll still be able to hear these. Let's go ahead and see how this works out. Very quiet. The thing you notice about this one is it tends to put out more air. Cool running puts out a decent amount of air, but I don't think it puts out quite as much as the one as this cooler over here. See, it does pretty decent for its size, but it's not really acceptable in my opinion for a custom built system. Be great for a good replacement for that cooler in a HP or any machines, or a business computer if you're doing like Microsoft Word or something like that. It's good for that kind of stuff, but nothing high end. Now I'm going to let you have a closer up look with the high end style coolers that come with the high end performance AMD CPUs. This cooler on the right, I'm not sure what it comes from. I bought this at Go Computer Works. I had it for like $6, $5.99. Went and picked it up. It's a pretty nice small form factor cooler. Has plenty of cooling power. Still got the fresh thermal compound on it. Never been used before. As a typical builder, doesn't use the retail cooler, especially on a high-end processor, because there's going to be overclocking them anyway. It's going to void the warranty anyway. and you need really good coolers to get a good overclock. With this little cooler here, you could probably get a good overclock with just a retail cooler. Like I said, this processor, processor cooler, it came with a socket 939 CPU, or maybe a 754. I'm not sure. I believe it was a socket 939. But yeah, pretty big cooler. Now we're going to have a look at this cooler here on the left. Guess what this goes to? Time's up. It goes to an AMD Phenom 2 quad-core 965 Black Edition. Surprisingly enough, it's not the 140 watt, it's the 125. Still a lot of heat for this little thing here to transfer. Not as big as this older style cooler here. Kind of disappointing in a way. I mean, this cooler here came with a Black Edition CPU, AMD's highest end processor as of January 2010. Highest end desktop processor anyway. Let's have a look. 80mm fan, 70mm fan. The sizes of the cooler are actually a bit different. If you look at the side of this one, notice how the heat pipes are on this particular cooler compared to this one. This cooler here is a little bit wider. The fan puts out more air compared to this thing here. And just to give you an idea about temperatures, of course I never plugged up this cooler because it was going in a $1,400 gaming rig. It's going to be overclocked. With the CPU at the stock clocks and voltage, with a Rosewell RCX-Z5 92mm heat pipe cooler, I saw temperatures. Let's say in the at max load it was typically low 50s, like 52, 53 degrees Celsius at max load under prime 95. When the CPU was overclocked from 3.4 gig to 3.7, it typically ran at the mid 50s. So that thing there, or excuse me, this thing here, sorry, this little thing here ain't got much cooling power, in my opinion, if you're going to be overclocking it. I'm going to let you listen to the to this thing right quick. Newer style cooler puts out some air, but not that much. I have to say, this thing here has a lot more cooling capacity compared to this thing here. So you notice a trend. AMD CPU coolers are getting smaller and smaller. So pretty much now you're better off. When you buy an AMD retail processor, you're pretty much better off just going out and buying a retail cooler, even though your new CPU will come with a heatsink. But there's my opinion, and there you have it.